this time, Mr. Jerry Jones.
Good evening. I guess the biggest difference in some of us is height, as William and I were talking about. We got specific instructions about the microphone, so we're going to try to follow. Everybody's been here before me, and I have a lot of the same things to say. But the main thing I think is to thank Jeremy and the committee and the people that are here. So many times we go to Republican or political events that people put a lot of time into and nobody's there. So the amount of candidates and the differences that we each have has basically done some good to bring the people out here to Franklin County and to hear answers to the questions that you proposed to all of us. I'm a little bit different than some people here. Most people do know me, born and raised in Franklin County, worked here all my life. Back in the 90s, went to work with the Sheriff's Office under Robert Redmond. Before that, I was a farm boy. Then through going to school and even working under Robert Redmond, I was kind of named as a natural for a sheriff. And when I was in BLET school, it kind of hit home, you know. I was a business manager at the age of 19 in 1977 for a $2.8 million business. So I got a lot of management skills. Then I was asked by a deputy on the road to try to go to work for the sheriff's office, and that worked out. I went and came several times for different reasons. Ended up working for the federal government for about 2 years in between being a deputy and knowing I was going to run for sheriff. Felt that was a fair thing to do, not to be in the office and planning on running. So always made what I thought were moral and right decisions. There's been some mention of things that go on in the sheriff's office that are not always pleasant. But I've been a person that could stand up to those things. I've probably got the thickest skin of anybody in here, and that's come from the politics part, or enforcing the law fair and having to hear from somebody's friend or neighbor or political friend that didn't really like you. But I am a Jerry Jones man. I do what I think is right. I'm not coerced by anybody else. However, I get a lot of information from a lot of people, and my guys and I, we take a team approach to a lot of things, and we get results. Franklin County Sheriff's Office is in a much better place today than it was when I came here in October 2011. And my goal is to continue this road and continue to improve the Sheriff's Office with the help of everybody. Thank you for being here tonight.
Given the current discussion of school safety, how can the Sheriff's Office best protect the school children of this county given the available resources?
Well, Jeremy, I think the most important thing you said was given the necessary resources. And I think if each of you know here with the tax rate the way it is in Franklin County, that's probably not going to happen. So you've got to do more with less. You've got to improvise, which is what I've done all my life. I did that before it was even cool. I did that when people laughed at you when you wore your parents' shoes and things. But you learn from that. And I've been in some meetings, and there's a fellow sheriff friend of mine that always has something good to say. And we were talking about how bad the economy was, and I knew he would have a bright line when it was over. And when he did, he said, everything being so tight, it's going to make us work closer together. So that's what has actually happened with the Franklin County Sheriff's Office and the new school superintendent. We now have a school officer in the school building with the superintendent that he looks after the resource officers, and the DARE officer works with him, and we're in the process. We've got grants to put people in school, and school did not ask for the resource funding this time, but the Sheriff's Office did. I took it on the hip, and I'm going to do what it takes to keep the officers in our school, educate them, and make them make those children's place to go a safe place. Thank you.
All of you standing before us this evening have chosen to run for sheriff of Franklin County. This position asks that you serve the community with honor, integrity, and trust. In addition to these qualities that rely heavily on ethical behavior and actions, we'd like to know what makes you the most qualified candidate for this seat, and would your current resume and background check allow you to serve in top-level government positions?
Thank you. And obviously, the answer is yes. But I would like to expand on it. I was interviewed by the county commissioners. I was appointed unanimously by the county commissioners. I went through the interview process, probably the most strenuous interview that I've ever seen take place in Franklin County. Background checks were done even before we got to the interview process. That party lines came together. People knew what they had heard. They knew what they had seen. And they knew that it takes a long time to be able to be a sheriff and to be an effective sheriff. The Sheriff's Association says 4 years, so they knew that was behind me. And due to adversities that I had conquered in the past, knowing how dark the cloud was over the current sheriff's office, they had confidence in me that I could relieve that cloud, and it has been done. I think I'm an expert in placing the proper people in the proper jobs. I work very well with the county commissioners, with the school boards. I know the limits of this county's financing. It's way, way less than Wake County. So those things, along with my knowledge of law enforcement and my knowledge of Franklin County, which I think is second to none. If you're hurt or you're being pointed a gun at and you want somebody to help you, I'm your man. I can find you. So I know Franklin County people like the back of my hand, and I know what it takes to make the Franklin County Sheriff's Office work. Thank you.
Regarding the sheriff's deputies, what requirements do you believe need to be in place regarding certification of those who hold this position?
Well, I fully agree with the North Carolina Training and Standards requirements, and we follow them to the letter of the law. And if it's good enough for 99 other sheriffs, that's a constitutional office, that have a lot of county people in Franklin County, it's good enough for me and the citizens of Franklin County. A lot of things that these guys say they want to bring, you know, that stuff's already here, people. It's already here. You go through at least a 90-day training when you come to the sheriff's office with a certified field training officer. That used not to happen here. It's so easy for people to throw stones and to be able to accuse you of things. But I will take the deputies that work for me and put them with anybody. And in case you don't know, if you live in Pilot, North Carolina, and someone lives in Wake County, they are a lot closer to your house than the sheriff's office. If you live in Epsom or Lake Royale, a Nash County or Vance County resident could be at your house a lot quicker than somebody that would leave the sheriff's office or somewhere in southern Franklin County. Qualified people. That's what everybody should talk about. Qualifications, not where they live. 11 veterans work for me. Most of them live outside of Franklin County. People, I pick and choose the best for you. Thank you.
The Sheriff's Department has to deal with budgeting, revenue, and other financial matters, including purchasing equipment. Do you feel that these things are best left up to the sheriff alone? If not, what are your ideas on handling of these line items to keep money issues above board, clear of questionable expenditures that can reflect poorly on the sheriff and his staff?
Jeremy and audience, the sheriff is a multitask person. I was in the church a few days and I heard a guy talking about a potter knows its clay. As a sheriff, you've got to know your office. You've got to have knowledge of everything. All of my opponents here have got some ideas. I bring you a total package that I've experienced. A reputation that you can see, not that I'm promising you. We tried the private sector. Graham Stallings, as much of y'all remember. My wife has been in the store business all her life. She's handled finances all her life, but I wouldn't let her buy any law enforcement equipment. I doubt that Mr. Hawley would want a civilian flying the helicopter he rode in. Morale was the worst that it had ever been when civilians tried to tell law enforcement people what kind of equipment they were going to have. I stand with the system. My department heads, as Mitchell mentioned, present their budget to me. We present it to the finance manager, to the county commissioners, and to the county managers. We have rules and checks. There's not a penny that's checked at the sheriff's office that's not handled at least by 2 people since things happened. Our books are open. We are conservative. Even Mitchell will tell you. He told me I was conservative today. Not only did we save money, we found items we used that other agencies in the county were paying for that had never used. I'm the person for the total job. Thank you.
In your opinion, from what you know, how well equipped is the Franklin County Sheriff's Department's drug task force? What changes would you make and why?
Well, as Rodney said, and then Mitchell said, you know, you agree with these guys up here. I mean, if you couldn't agree with anything they said, they probably would be even spending their money to run for sheriff. But Franklin County Sheriff's Office Drug Task Force is asked for by a lot of agencies that are larger than us for help. And we're proud of that. Yes, you can do more. We tried for a drug interdiction team for years, but the county chose not to fund it. So we've done it part-time on our own. But I also tell you, when you go to looking to keep people breaking the laws to make money, you're going to end up in trouble. You enforce the law because it's wrong not to make money. It'll get you every time. K9. I had 4 dogs when I left at 4. When I come back, it was down to 2. We're back up to 3 in a piece. We've got 7 dogs that we got from the U.S. military that were bomb-sniffing dogs. We're in the process of socializing them with possible handlers now, and they'll be certified, trained, and get the proper paperwork that everybody's talking about up here getting before we put them out on the street. And we'll get the K9 unit back to where it needs to be to look out for the civilians that we were talking about. And yes, we don't break bread every day, but there's not a colored uniform in this room that wouldn't go together right now if something happened. So when you leave the top management, every officer that works the streets meets with every police officer every night, and they talk about everything they want to, and they work together. And I can deal with that as long as when the fire gets hot, we go to it. And I'm proud of my people and the police departments for doing that.
Working with other law enforcement in Franklin County is a priority and imperative for safe communities. What do you believe you can do as sheriff that would strengthen the ties between the sheriff department and local law enforcement in the towns within the county?
I'm going to go back to what one of the guys said. I can figure that out. I wouldn't be here running for sheriff. I'd be in the miracle making business. People, the perception is that these guys don't get along, but you'd be really surprised at what we do together. Tomorrow, one of the other candidates, the chief police of Bunn's, got a function, and the sheriff's office is going to help it. I don't know that and these guys are here, you can ask them before we leave, I don't know that we've ever said no to anybody. But if you've got a county rec league and a city rec league playing ball, the 2 teams are not going to get along together. These police officers' town is just like their backyard. And if somebody comes in your backyard and tells you what to do, you're probably not going to like it. This is a power struggle. It's not that anyone is wrong. These guys have jurisdiction in the town. I have jurisdiction countywide. And as I said before, we don't agree with everything, but we can agree to disagree. We've worked, I had lunches, we served meals, we meet, and just recently we all met over a serious radio problem, and Kurtz, the chief of Yonkers, said the best meeting we ever had. So when it comes time to get the business done, people, we can do it. And as long as that's happening, I'm satisfied with it. Y'all support your police chief, you support your sheriff's office, and we'll get the job done for you. Thank you.
This country was founded by folks who had the ability to stand on their own feet, solve problems, and took responsibility. Could you explain how you will apply these same traits as sheriff?
Yes, the simple. I've already mentioned it a time or two. When I took office October 7, 2011, I immediately began to improve the sheriff's office. I was one of the first sheriffs in North Carolina after the Sandy Hook shooting, and everybody had a shotgun approach about gun control, that I openly stood up for the Second Amendment and people to right and bear arms in Franklin County. I went to the meeting that filled the Fargo's Cattle Steak Company more than it had ever been filled, and was there with some other sheriffs. And I stood my ground to protect the people in Franklin County, not only the Second Amendment, but the whole Constitution. And not just once, but whatever it takes to stand up for the citizens of Franklin County, I'll do. We work with these people, we look after our schools, we follow what's going on with Common Core. There's a lot that we've got to know about people, but the Constitution is the backbone of the office of sheriff, as Mitchell said, and I study it daily and see how I can better improve us in Franklin County when the training sides come. So we have things in place, and I told at that meeting, you don't tell people where your money is, you don't tell people where your guns are, we're probably going to be okay in Franklin County. Thank you.
You feel organized quarterly town hall meetings in different locations around the county would be beneficial for the Franklin County Sheriff's Department, and would this be a good source of communications and allow citizens the chance to voice their concerns?
Yes. You got to get the people there, and you look around, this is one of the biggest crowds tonight that we've had at any of these functions. On that same line, we have Citizens Academy. People come, and in case you all don't know it, a lot of y'all don't use sheriff's office like some people, but we still make house calls. My phone works. I've had one complaint about not returning a call to a lady, and that was because she wanted something done illegally, and she wanted to play me up against my deputies, and she was a bully, and I don't be bullied well. So it takes two people to argue, so I stayed silent. Silence is golden. But yes, if people would get out, and we used to do this a long time ago, you used to go to church more, you went to see families more. People don't have the time. You go to Youngsville, we had the Youngsville Area Business Association forum, people come out, there were more candidates there than there were spectators. And it's not that they don't want to come, it's the economy. So I handle a lot of stuff over the internet. Facebook's open. We reply to it every day. We hit over 5,000 people with it. Technology people can take the place of some of these town hall meetings, but whatever it takes to get the public. But I go to personal visits every time I'm called. I take it head on. I cover for my guys. I support them. And as a team, we'll get through it. But I've never turned down meeting a crowd anywhere. My philosophy is there's two people there. I want to be the third one there. And that's how you take care of business. Thank you.
So how do you feel about work ethics? Is the sheriff position a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday job?
Well, I hope most people in here know how I feel about that. I was in a meeting not too long ago, and I relayed my work ethics to the old farm boy. If it was too wet, you done what it took to get the crop in. If it was too dry, you done what it done to get the crop in. And there's been sheriffs that work 8 to 5, and they can get by with that for about 4 years. But I'm a workaholic people at whatever I'm doing. I see a lot more of this county at dark than I do in the daytime. My wife made a statement not too long ago that she was the only married single woman in Franklin County. But she supports me in my job, and she knows my work ethics. Every deputy I've got knows my work ethics, and they appreciate that. I've got a radio by my lounge chair, a radio in my bathroom, and a radio by my bed. I've got 2 phones on, and I got people that call me all the time to tell me what's going on. And that's the way I want. Tom's mentioned it, some of the other people's mentioned it. There's not a call at the sheriff's office that I want any officer taking that I wouldn't handle myself. And if they're in a bind, divine relief is on the way, and I don't mind being a part of it. Thank you.
Can you name 2 career positions that you previously held that you believe best qualify you for sheriff?
Yes. First one would be managing farm supply business. Second one would be 4 years as your sheriff. But then I'll tell you, every career I've had, every single one of them has took a part in preparing me to be sheriff. A fire and EMS, working in a grocery store, driving a school bus. The only time I've ever had one job is when I was your sheriff. Like I say, if you want, like I want, my wife wants, you gotta work. I found that out at an early age. So I enjoy working. Farm supply business. A lot of these people know the roads, but if you look, Highway Patrol handles the roads most times, Sheriff's Office handles everything but the road. In my farm supply days, it was my goal to get from Bunn to Lewisburg without getting on 39 highway. For a long time, you couldn't do it, but when Mr. Taylor bought the nursery and put a pipe across 4 bridges, you can now do it. So if someone's lost deer hunters territory, I know Franklin County. I know it from my farm supply days. People that I work for, John Vollmer, Mackie Rogers, people that I follow around in Bunn, they are my idols. And that's every working career I've had prepared me to be a leader. I knew at an early age, 19 years old, I was managing a farm supply business, running a fleet of trucks. I got people in here that worked with me then. They still work with me now. You do 13 months of work in about 6 months, and a lot of y'all can relate today if you're trying to plant a garden and it rains every other day. But if you put the coal out there, you can get the job done. Thank you.
What prompted or motivated you to become a candidate for sheriff?
Well, I guess I'm going to have to repeat a little bit. Earlier, I didn't know you was coming from there. Rescue, fire, public service, growing up with a family that wanted to help people. You knew that you were a helper. And people, I want to tell you, in law enforcement, you help a lot more people than you arrest. When that phone rings, you never know what's on the other end of it, from a crime parent to a crime child. And knowing that that's what I wanted to do, and then being asked by senior deputies, hey, come to work with the sheriff's office. And then in early training, saying, hey, you're a natural for a sheriff. Then in my early days in the farm supply business, when I managed people, it's been mentioned here tonight, you know, about how to get respect. You get respect by giving respect. You lead by example. And I've done all those things. And then when I was told that I was a natural, we talked about patrol deputies, serving papers, doing things. I mean, that's an everyday job for a deputy. And the people that had years and years of experience told me within 6 months after I was patrol deputy that I was sheriff's material. And some of the fellows that I mentioned earlier that were just leaders in my life and set examples for me encouraged me to do that. So it's the path that I chose, and I feel like I do good at it, and I want to continue to strive to do better for the citizens of Franklin County. Thank you.
If elected to sheriff office, what top 2 things do you feel are a priority to be dealt with, and what 2 things would you change and why?
One of the major issues facing all law enforcement and emergency services in Franklin County right now is the radio system that we have. And it's a must, people. It's got to be fixed. We got police officers in Youngsville. We got firemen in Youngsville. And this is a work in progress. And we've got to stay on it. We've got to work with everybody. We've got to stay as a team and to get this system fixed. Everybody's talking about citizen and everything, but if you can't get that call and you can't get out there, there goes that communications word. We've got to stick with what we're doing, and we've got to make sure that that gets finished, and it's going to take everybody in this room to do that. Secondly, gangs. Durham police chief was staying on TV, they didn't have a gang problem. People were getting shot on buses for wearing the wrong color shirts in gang territories. Gangs are in Franklin County, people. Most of you saw Wake Forest, Heritage Subdivision, prominent citizen, kidnapped by a gang member in prison. Gangs, they're in the small schools. They cause this young crime. They cause drug activity. They cause property crimes. We've got to get aggressive. We've got to work with judges and our people with the state. We've got to get on top of this gang problem. As each of these guys said, there's a lot of things here to go. And there's nothing in the world that's perfect. And the changes that you got to take, you got to change it because they need changing, not just for change. Thank you. As Mitchell and I'm sure the other guys will say, thank you for coming. Thank you for being interested in what's going on. And as your sheriff now, let's stay the course. I can say things that people say, and I'm not stealing it, I just want to use it because I think it's right. If it's not broke, don't fix it. We got a situation going on with our county jail. We're in the process of $3.2 million repair, not necessary add-on. We're looking after the county's assets. No one of you would take that type investment and turn it over to somebody completely new. You gotta think, you gotta put personalities out of this, you gotta look at the business end of it, and you gotta make the right decision. You can look in Washington and see what voting for the person you like or something does. So we've got the fact that you are here and are willing to listen, you gotta go the extra step, people, and do what is right. I look out for my guys. Morale has been questioned. A lot of things have been questioned, but those are speculations, people. I've got people here supporting me tonight. They treat me well. I treat them well. The county treats them well. They have better equipment now, cars with less miles, and a lot of things that we've been able to get and basically not spend a lot more money. I'm good at what I do, and I do it for you, and I utilize a team of qualified people, friends and family to do it. I want your vote and support. My door is always open. I'm a people person, I'm a go-getter, and I'm a leader. I don't claim to be perfect. There's nothing in the world perfect. I heard that at a break. So remember that. But you can strive to do better. You can tweak things. And I'm willing to tweak as long as I need to strive for perfect. Doing the right thing is not hard. And if it's worth doing, it's worth doing it right the start time, the first time. There's a lot of guys here that use some of the same sayings that I say, and we're on the same boat with a lot of things. But there's a difference between a sheriff and a wannabe. There's a difference between a sheriff and a deputy. I've got ties with the North Carolina Sheriff's Association, the National Sheriff's Association, neighboring sheriffs, North Carolina Police Chiefs Association. I got the resources to get what needs to be done, Franklin County. Thank you.